This is the Kingsley. I believe this one's an M50. And these things are from the 50s, from most of them, that time frame anyways. They're extremely old. Most of them, when you see them for sale, look more like that. This one came with a plate. Well, if I can do it one-handed. I like to use a tripod when I make videos, but this wasn't going to work. I took mine and I put some bars underneath there on each side. And then I have some very sticky clear tape, whatever you want to use, but it's plenty sturdy, because half of the battle with these things is keeping them square. But a Bible cover covers up that typical surface area, even the big surface area. And I can get down there and line it up, make sure it's straight, and really, really helps a lot. Very few Bibles will extend over that, and that's a 18-inch by 6-inch. Usually that's called a quilter's mark. And I will show you. I just sat down. I sit down low, and my eyes are at this height. And I'll just tell you all the little tips and tricks. Might be that you've got a couple of years on you. And when you go to looking up from your bifocals, you can't see diddly up there. That's what the old man spectacles are for. They give a bifocal up top. Tips and tricks. There's no end of it. This one is mounted. It's actually an ammo box, what it is. And a couple of weights that I use when I put the Bible cover down on there. Once you get it set, once you got the position set, I'll have two of these on there, here and here. And that's because whenever you strike that thing, I always strike it twice, double strikes. And if it moves in the slightest bit, well, it ain't going to be pretty when you do that double strike. So the weights keep everything secure. Every time I strike it, I go twice. Every time I strike it, I stand up and look at it to make sure that the strike went well, because once you move this, you're not going to get it precisely placed again to where you can strike that over the top. And I'll tell you, things that I do right off the bat is I have a little routine I go through. This is just a reject cover, and you can see I haven't really done it as much as I usually do. I'll line out the edges of that right there, and when it comes to having my everything set up, come on now, focus, Daniel son. I'll have this against it won't let me go in there, I'm sorry. I'll have this against the typeset and be able to measure and get it exactly centered. I don't eyeball much of anything. And I'll also tell you, every time I strike something, I have a test piece of leather, and I strike the gold or whatever color I'm using on the experiment. Because no matter how long I've been doing this, the probability or possibility of getting it upside down will break your heart when it happens. I have one not too long ago. I was thinking I was past everything. I didn't strike it. Of course, when you stamp the name, it's inverted. I'm not going to try and explain that, but everything else is stamping straight, but the stamping at the bottom, it's inverted. And things you just got to practice at, but I always test strike, no matter what. Now, I'll show you a valuable tip and trick. This is a Kingsley. It takes about 15 minutes for it to heat up. Now, if you're going back and forth with all of these different apparatuses for the single line, you got multiple carriers, you will be there all day waiting. So what I have done is that is a bagel. I bought it at Walmart for like $15. It's called a Bagel My Mini. And everything is plugged into a power strip. When I turn it on, everything I have set up is going to be inside of there. And it will be preheated and it runs smooth as silk. I wait 15 minutes. I tell my Alexa's timer for 15 minutes and she'll set me one. And I come back and it's ready to strike, and I can shuffle them back and forth pretty quick. In other words, everything's preheated. Now, one of the biggest problems, the units work fine. There's nothing wrong with them. The antiquated nature of it, there's not a problem with them. I had one before. I bought a new one first, and it was just, if you're familiar with these things, it was a zone, one of the zones you get off of Amazon, and it worked good, heated up better, but it was one of the cheaper ones, just impossible to keep straight. There are some of them better than others. But anyways, if there is a problem with the Kingsleys, it is the typeset. You cannot believe. This is my main typeset that I use for this one. It says RMS 18-point announcement Roman. And I have the caps and the little ones. And that's my predominant one. Now, I have bought so many sets of these. And because they're 50 to 70 years old, if a person's just buying and selling on eBay where you get most of this stuff, they don't know what they have. And you can look at the pictures, study the pictures, and when you get them, you're like, doggone, I thought that was something else. This is my newest one. For example, I bought it as a 24-point. I'll guarantee you that's a 36. Now, these are a little bit on the rare side, in my humble opinion, because these will fit in the regular, holders. I have a set that is a little different. I'll show you right off the bat. And that is that's inverted, but just the initials KJV. But what that is a monogram set. And the holders for these are really hard to come by. And this is literally taped on, so I don't change it out. Because when it gets gooey, it's not pretty. I don't use it much anymore. But I have the whole monogram set. This is a setup for those, the ones I showed you here, the big ones. They fit inside of these. Now, in my buying and selling, I've acquired all kinds of things. I'll buy a set, and if it doesn't work, I'll put it up for sale on eBay, and they go back and forth. But the valuable things are this little brass insert. It's what you put a single, and then it fits. And I know this is poor cameraman stuff, I'm aware. But it's just a one-man deal out here today. But that little brass thing is valuable. These things go for a handsome price. And you can get a triple, but honestly, when they do come up for sale, they ask whatever they want and they get it. Because the antiquity of them makes them real old. But in doing some things, this is, let me see. This is typically how these come. Now, when I bought and sold, I kept things that I wanted to keep, and one of them had several of these, but this was bent or broken. Well, I get all crafty, and I've got a super long bolt that goes through there, and it takes a little finesse making it work, but I avoid having to use all of those spacers. A lot of them anyways. And it turns out to be kind of a handy deal there. And so I think the biggest learning curves I've had is I sit down low to where I can see exactly where the placement is. Every time I work this thing, I slide it. I look down through there. I get it all centered up exactly where it's supposed to go. Let me make that a little more visually. And it'll be all centered up. I'll look down this thing and get it straight as an arrow on whatever tick mark I'm on. And it allows you to be pretty accurate. If I have one weakness, it would be where I do 3 lines. It can get pretty complicated getting those space just right. Say, why do people buy this? You know, compared to the, I forget the names of the other one. I think the other big name one is called Brother or something like that. I think these are a little bit cheaper, but you're still going to give anywhere from $200 to $300 or $400 for one of these units. And then the typesets, they get pricey now. You're doing good to get one that has caps and lowercase. You're doing good to get one of those for $2 1/4. They go for more than that. Sometimes you'll see them for lesser prices, and either they won't have full pictures to show you what's in there, or if they have the pictures, you'll find out that there's different fonts that are missing, or different letters, excuse me. So the real trick is I lucked out. This set that I use predominantly came with the unit when I first bought it. And so if there's a tip and a trick, I've got the little board mounted there that allows me to measure without having to stick a ruler on it every time. And the little bagel, I'll never forget. The cashier asked me when I was checking out, she said, "What are you going to do with this?" I said, "Well, I'm going to heat my type fonts for my Kingsley M50. What do you do with it?" So sometimes I have a little of that personality in me as well. Anyways, I hope this is a help. A lot of people have curiosities about the stamping part of it.